Hi everyone, Sid here, back in the car. I am going back, baby. It is about time I return to the series I started on the flat earth. That's right, you heard me. For those of you who are new to this channel, I'd like to first of all refer you to the playlist that's going to be in the list. I started this series a while ago. And also, basically, let's start by explaining why it's been over a year that I haven't published another Flat Earth Adventures video. Basically, I got bored with it. It's really that simple. I remember at some point in February 2016, I was listening to an episode of Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes. And then there was a click in my mind and I was like, you know what? I'm not even entertained by this anymore. And I just stopped. And I still listen to the occasional Flat Earth video when, basically when I'm bored and I need something in the background to just, create white noise. I might as well go out with these caveats right now. If you are a Flat Earther watching this, I've already pissed you off. I just want to say, first of all, please watch part 2 of this series. I've already empathized with you, and in part 4, I will demonstrate why this series is all about you. I have been going somewhere with this from the beginning. I knew when I hit play in my bathroom, when I hit record in my bathroom over a year ago, that this series could not have less than 4 parts. So yeah, I am on your side, even though you can't tell. And after having already empathized with you, I will make the case of why I am on your side next time. However, this is the part where I basically explain why I'm not a flat earther. And I'm going to be straight up mean at times. I just want to warn you. So yeah, that being said, the reason that I'm fascinated with flat earth as a concept is the same reason why I am fascinated by political elections. So basically, as far as keeping your critical thinking skills sharp, presidential debates and presidential campaigns are a very good showcase of like elite level sophistry. And flat earth videos are a great showcase of beginner level sophistry. So basically, if you want to become a great boxer, yes, occasionally you're going to have to put your gear on and spar with Mike Tyson in his prime. And occasionally you're just going to have to stand in front of your own shadow and do jab, 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 cross, jab, 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 cross all over again, over and over again. So, yeah, there are 2 types of people. When you know how to think critically, there are 2 types of people that will consistently violate the rules of critical thinking. Someone who can't think critically and someone who can and is using the rules to manipulate you. In other words, idiots and liars. And basically, the flat earth community is made up almost entirely of idiots and liars. There is one exception that I will call out by name. His name is Brian Mullen. I have not, unfortunately, his channel became active again around the period where I got bored with Flat Earth, and I haven't watched one of his videos recently. The last one that I watched was when he was doing the video on the atmosphere and temperature of the ISS, and there were some bits that I couldn't understand, so when I watched it, I told myself I'd watch it again, and then I got bored with Flat Earth, and the rest is history. I am calling Brian Mullen out as a shining exception to this rule because he is the only exception. He is the only Flat Earther that I can think of who is not an idiot or a liar. I can sense his goodwill, and yeah, he has a science background, which is something y'all can use, by the way. Anyway, yeah. There are 2 things that you can do to lose all your credibility with me almost instantaneously. The first one is you advance a rule and then break it. The second one is you produce a diagram in order to prove a point, and you misinterpret your own diagram. And that is another two things that the flat earth community is peppered with all over the place. And I hope to have enough time to cover this. I've written down a couple points here and a bonus that I'll get into in after a while. So let me just give you a showcase of flat earth fails in logic. Basically, you know what, let's just get to it. So the first flat earth fail, don't trust photo evidence. Now take a look at these pictures. This is something you'll find over and over and over again. And the funny thing is they dispute it to they dispute it when shown with NASA pictures of the Earth, and then they'll produce pictures of their own to prove their point. So pictures that support flat Earth are fine. Pictures that go against flat Earth are obvious Photoshop. They're fake. It's fake. And the funny thing is, I'm sure some of you are going, no, it's NASA pictures that you shouldn't trust. And these same people will refer to videos where they're using NASA footage of, for instance, a rocket ship taking off and not going up in a straight line and that kind of shit. So you really can't have it both ways, and please stop trying to. So if you remove pictures and photo evidence from the table, you remove it from yourself also. It would be really cool if you could learn how to apply your own rules to yourself. And this is going to be the main thrust of this video. Most flat earth arguments do not hold up to the standards advanced by flat earthers. So let me continue with another one that I hear a lot. Globe earthers, they use gravity like it's a magic thing. They explain everything they can't understand with gravity. Oh, by the way, what's keeping this car stuck to the street? Magnetism. What it explains the tides? Magnetism. What keeps the sun and moon hovering over the giant dinner plate? Magnetism. It's you guys use magnetism the same way you critique us for using gravity. So please, start by agreeing with yourself before coming at me with that shit. And also, a fun experiment, a thought experiment. I know y'all are fans with that when it suits you. If I was standing somewhere between the tropics and the sun was overhead, like directly overhead at that point, and I was looking straight up at the sun, the same force that is keeping me on the ground to look at the sun is also the same force that's keeping the sun in the air and not having it fall on me. And I know y'all like density also, like, denser things go down and less dense things go up. That's just the way it is. Why down? Why don't denser things go east or up? That is something that I have not found a satisfying answer to. Now, the next one is a little sneakier, which is perspective. This one took me a while to realize because for reasons I'll get into in a second. So, flat earthers will use perspective to explain the ships disappearing over the horizon hull first. They're really big fans of that. However, when you show a picture of the sun with divergent sun rays and you say, well, if the sun was 93 million miles away, those rays would be parallel. Spoiler alert, they are. And I have a thought experiment. Again, this one doesn't suit you, so you won't like it, but I'm advancing it anyway. Let's say that you were standing at the end of a hallway, a corridor that is 93 million miles long. And you're standing at one end of this corridor looking at the other end. And the corners between the floor and the wall are forming lines that go up this way, and the corners between the walls and ceiling are making lines that go that way. And you're standing at the end of this corridor and you're saying, well, if the other end of this corridor was 93 million miles away, these four lines would be parallel. That's exactly what you're doing when you produce a picture, violating your own rules, of the sun with divergent rays and saying, well, if it was really 93 million miles away, those rays would be parallel. And the reason it took me so long to realize this was because way back yonder, when I was dipping my toes into the flat earth mythos, and I use the word mythos very deliberately, I remember, like, flat earth has a lot of arguments that seem compelling on the face of them when you don't take time to think about them. And I remember being shown this picture of the sun with divergent rays and thinking, and wondering why that was. I guess you could say that I was experiencing cognitive dissonance in that moment. And then I did what flat earthers do. They had just given me the tool to deal with this cognitive dissonance in the moment, which was, I did what flat earthers do. I just waved that picture away with the magic words, well, that's obvious Photoshop. And then I moved on, and that was it, because, don't trust photo evidence. Now take a look at these pictures. Nope, I'm not trusting that picture. However, and it took, atmosphere, I'm not a meteorologist, but it took over a year from that point for me to actually see divergent sun rays with my own eyes. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm actually going to have to, actually address that in my mind now, because I'm seeing it. I can't doubt my own senses. And that's when I actually looked into why sun rays appear to diverge when we were looking at the sun. And that's when I realized that, once again, flat earthers ignore their own freaking concept when it suits them. Like, ships just appear to be disappearing hull first because of perspective, but pay no attention to perspective when looking at sun rays. That's because it's close. That's the only way to explain it. What else? Oh my God. Okay. This video is going to be shorter than I thought. Excellent. So, this whole thing of the horizon being at eye level. First of all, it's not. And I'll put a link to a video where someone does a pretty clear geometric demonstration of how a 6-foot tall person just standing on a flat plane, the horizon on a globe Earth would be very, very, very close to eye level, but a little below it. And I'll tell you something, y'all are fans of trusting your own senses. I work on the second floor of my building, okay? And when I look out at the horizon, it's a teeny tiny bit below eye level. I can see it. And yeah, if I cannot understand how you can claim to buy a plane ticket, go out on that plane and see that the horizon is at eye level, when I know on the second floor of my building that it's not. It's very slightly below. You have to be fucking honest with yourself, and also be aware that you're not piloting the plane. You don't know whether the plane is level or not when you're looking out at it. So that thing baffles me. But I will say, I'm a bit of a math geek. That's why I don't use the curvature equation, because I can math and I use trigonometry. And when I was really OCD and really fascinated with flat Earth, I took the famous curvature equation. I shrunk. It doesn't matter. I won't explain what trigonometry I did, but basically I used trigonometry to measure how. I use trigonometry to calculate how much the Earth drops over 1 mile, and with trigonometry I came up with something like 7.998 miles, inches, sorry. So, it's close enough. The curvature equation, okay, it flies in the face of something else that I hear flat earthers say, which is, Well, you can make math say anything. And yet they'll turn around and use the curvature equation to prove how the Earth must be flat, because if such and such building was such and such distance away, it would be X distance below the horizon. And by the way, you're not supposed to apply the curvature equation to line of sight. You're supposed to apply the curvature equation to the level line. That's right. You've been applying a correct formula to the wrong line. It's almost as if you have no idea what the fuck you're doing. So yeah, and by the way, I will link to a video below of a geodesic surveyor who taught us how geodesy actually works and which line you're actually supposed to apply the curvature equation to. And he did something y'all won't do. He actually got up off his ass and he went out in the world and measured, I think it was about 1 minute of curvature, an arc minute, which might be too fancy for y'all as a term, but an arc minute is basically a really, really small angle. I don't remember if I took the time to calculate an arc minute and see if that approximates to about 8 inches, but all that being said, he went out in the field, he measured the curvature himself, or at least something that is that accounts for, he measured about an arc minute of curvature in the actual world near where he lives. So yeah, and by the way, I know that Mark Sargent has an interview with a surveyor who is planar survey. He does plane surveys. And you know what? I will link to that video as well. I think that it's an interesting showcase of, let's call it intermediate level sophistry. It's not that good, but there's one thing though that he clearly did not do. He did not go into Google. He did not go into Google and type plane survey and find out how it works. Because there is a, as you might know, plane surveying rests on the assumption that you're measuring on a flat surface and all differences are written off as topography. And the thing is, with plane surveys, it breaks down after a certain distance. I forget off the top of my head. I think it's like 25-mile radius. I might be wrong on that. You know what? I'll leave that as an exercise. You fucking do Google and find out where plane surveying breaks down. But one thing is for sure, the largest project that this surveyor had worked on that Mark Sargent interviewed, the largest project was well within the bounds of where plane surveying can still work. So yeah, that's, you know what? I have time for a bonus. I've only been talking about advancing rules and then breaking them. There was one example of misinterpreting your own diagram that I'd like to go into. So if you're a flat earther and you've ever advanced the argument that if the Earth was really spinning around the sun at whatever miles per hour, the phases of the moon would switch twice a year. And then you have a picture of the sun and the Earth on either side of that sun, and the moon phases around both Earths, and you use that as a diagram, you use that as support for your case. Congratulations, you've just misinterpreted your own diagram. And I will leave that one as an exercise as well. I was, again, initially it sounds compelling, and that one I debunked, quote unquote, after only a couple minutes of thinking about it and walking around in a circle with one hand outstretched like this and the other hand doing this. I've just given you some hints to find out why that argument doesn't work. Is there anything else I want to cover? Basically, I just want to say if you're a flat earther and you're still watching this, first of all, thank you. Second of all, I appreciate you sticking in there with me. I throw a lot of pot shots, but this series really has been all about you, and I will make the case very shortly. The difficulties of being bored with Flat Earth has led to this year-plus break in this series, but I have not forgotten about it, and I am so... I'm looking forward to filming part 4, where I can really bring it home and show you, explain to you why this series has been about you from the beginning. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Please leave comments, like, and share. If you're gonna come at me, you better show evidence of having watched the entire video and of at least having watched part 2. If you're watching this before I've published part 4, I can't hold it against you for not having watched it. But after, you better have demonstrated that you've seen more than just a couple of minutes of this video. All that being said, I still encourage you to leave your comments. I am very anti-censorship, so I only did it once by accident, which is a story I don't think is worth telling at any point. So yeah, please leave your comments, like, and share. If you have not yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit that bell to get notifications. As always, you'll find links to my social media below. And on that note, you take care of yourself, and please put your attention on things that you can actually control. That's a teaser for part 4. Later.